Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are taking a deep dive into a very powerful and, pretty controversial thesis from our source material. It connects global finance, climate policy, and some really advanced technology to argue that we're heading towards a future of, total control. Let's get into it.
The sources we're looking at today keep coming back to this quote from Aldous Huxley, and it really frames the entire concern we're exploring, doesn't it? The idea that this nightmare of total organization isn't just something you read about in a book anymore, but something that might be, as he says, just around the next corner.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this whole perspective, we're going to walk through the argument exactly as it's laid out. We'll start with the core idea behind it all, then look at the financial tools, the supposed master plan, the tech that would make it all possible, and finally what the sources say people can do about it.
All right, first things first, we have to look at the ideological foundation. According to this thesis, if you want to understand where this is all supposedly heading, you have to go back to an idea that's actually about 100 years old.
So the whole argument really hangs on this one word, technocracy. Now, on the surface, it just means letting technical experts run things. But the sources we're analyzing see it very differently. They frame it as the science of social engineering, a system that's designed to manage society like a machine, not actually represent its people.
And here are the key principles as the source material lays them out. Just look at the shifts being described here. You're talking about replacing elected politicians with appointed experts and getting rid of a price-based economy for one where energy and resources are allocated from the top down. The argument is that this is a total, fundamental rewatering of how society works.
The sources then trace this idea through history, from its start in the 1930s, through influential groups like the Club of Rome, all the way to the founding of the Trilateral Commission in 1973. The big claim here is that this wasn't some fringe idea that just disappeared. It was, and still is, an ambition to create a new international economic order.
So, how does an old idea like that actually become a reality? Well, according to this thesis, the answer is through the financial system. The logic is simple. If you want to control a society, you have to control its money.
And that brings us to a really crucial question. The sources argue that the first, most important step, the one that makes everything else possible, is getting rid of physical cash.
So, what would replace cash? The answer given is the Central Bank Digital Currency, or CBDC. Now, you often hear proponents talk about how efficient and secure they would be. But the perspective we're examining today sees something totally different. It argues that a CBDC isn't just digital cash, it's programmable money. And that gives the issuer incredible control over how you and I can spend it.
This is how the sources say it would work. Step 1, the central bank issues these programmable tokens. Step 2, smart contracts, which are just rules written in code, are attached to the money. And then step 3, the one that's at the heart of the concern, is enforcement, the ability to control what you buy, where you buy it, or even to just switch your money off.
And to really drive home how serious this concern is, the sources point to voices like Catherine Austin Fitts. Her view here is incredibly stark. She's not talking about finance anymore. She's calling it a slavery system. It's a powerful warning that really sets the tone for the critics' entire argument.
Okay, so if programmable money is the tool, then what's the big plan? The documents we're analyzing argue that these new financial controls are meant to enforce much, much bigger global policies.
The argument then connects this financial system directly to global initiatives like UN Agenda 2030. And as you can see, the source material presents two totally different ways of looking at it. On one side, you have the official goals, sustainability, ending poverty, things we all want. But on the other side is the critical view, that this is all just a cover for a plan to inventory and control every single resource on the planet, giving all the power to unelected global groups.
So who's supposedly driving this? The sources point to a coalition of public and private power. You've got global bodies like the UN and the WEF, huge financial players like BlackRock, and of course some of the most influential names in tech and finance. The central claim is that all these different groups are actually working together toward this one common goal.
Now, according to the argument, you can't have this level of centralized financial and political control without the technology to back it up, an all-seeing infrastructure to monitor and manage every aspect of society.
And these are the key pieces of that surveillance puzzle, according to the sources. It's not any single one of them. It's how they all fit together. Biometric IDs that are tied to your bank account, smart meters and devices tracking everything you use and everywhere you go, and a security philosophy of zero trust,
where you're basically considered a threat until proven otherwise over and over again. Altogether, the argument goes, they create a digital panopticon.
And if you want to understand the sheer scale of this, well, the sources point to this incredible number, $5 quadrillion. That's the estimated value of the world's natural ecosystems. And the claim is that new financial tools are being created to put a price tag on all of it and then bring it all under this new system of inventory and control.
So after laying out this pretty vast architecture of control, the sources don't just leave it there. They actually spend a lot of time talking about what they see as potential ways for people to push back.
In response to this whole perceived threat, the sources lay out a bunch of different strategies. Some are really simple, like just using cash whenever you can. Others are much more high-tech, like using privacy-focused crypto and decentralized finance. But the common thread through all of them is creating parallel systems outside of that centralized model, in order to protect individual freedom.
So when you strip everything else away, the argument we've been looking at really boils down to this: a fundamental clash of two opposing visions for the future, a top-down, centrally managed global society versus a bottom-up movement for individual freedom and sovereignty.
And that really leaves us with the big question that this whole thesis puts on the table. In a world that is becoming more digital by the second, what is the future of our privacy and our freedom? The sources we explored today offer one very powerful, very critical answer. But how we as a society actually strike that balance between convenience and control? Well, that's a debate that is really just getting started.